Ah, shit. Get your tea and your popcorn because we have hit yet another psychological jackpot. That's right, the blueprints, the Nubian queens, have spent decades begging online, shouting from the abyss, begging for representation. And when they finally get it, what do you know? It's not good enough. They did this with Francesca Rivers. They did this with the Sinners movie. And now, here they are doing it with this statue. So, on the one hand, you have black women saying things like, hey, real bodies matter, natural bodies matter. We don't like BBL culture. We don't like when black women get nose jobs and bleach their skin and wear lace fronts because that's self hating. We want to be seen in our natural state. So, they say that on the one hand. And then when you finally get black female representation, where they are in their natural state, then they turn around and complain. And they say that that image is not good enough. And this proves my point that a lot of unambiguous black women, they hate seeing themselves in their natural state. They don't like their own image naturally. And a lot of them are in competition with mixed women. They're in competition with non-black women because, like I said, Exoticals, we are their standard. We are their standard of beauty. We are their standard of living. That's why they compare unambiguous dark-skinned black women's image to mixed women's image. And then they'll say, you don't show mixed women being overweight, or you don't show mixed women looking quote unquote average. The first question I have is, okay, what exactly is average? Because I hear a lot of them, they will use blackness as an insult. They'll say, oh, you're just a regular, unambiguous black woman. And then it's like, okay, well, there's a statue of a regular, unambiguous black woman. And you guys are saying that basically she's too ugly to be your representation. You don't like her. She's not a good enough representation. And I saw on Exotical Epiphany's channel, be sure to subscribe to her channel. I saw that they were talking about how I guess some black women are comparing this statue to like Greek goddesses and stuff. And all they're doing is exposing themselves because they're admitting that at the end of the day, they just want to be perceived as goddesses. They want to be put on a pedestal, but then they get mad when us Exoticals do the exact same thing. They get mad when we get put on a pedestal, but then here they are complaining that they are not being put on a positive pedestal. Not to mention the fact that black women will say, oh, we don't like being sexualized. So, we don't want to always be seen as sexy or just as some sort of sex object. But now here they are complaining that this woman is essentially not sexy. So I feel like a lot of them, they have they have this two-sided view of themselves where it's like her only option is being a sexy woman that gets fetishized or being the mammy. I've noticed those are the only two options. So they feel like if it's not a video vixen type of black woman, then, they automatically categorize her as a mammy. A lot of unambiguous black women struggle because they don't understand how to have a multifaceted identity. Not to mention the fact that a lot of them are living vicariously through Hollywood. They live vicariously through celebrities. And it's hilarious because they try to tell us Exoticals, oh, you look nothing like those celebrities. You look nothing like the people that are your representation. And it's like, okay, unambiguous women, you guys finally have representation that looks just like you. Annie from Sinners looks just like you guys. This statue looks just like how most of you guys look walking down the street. Go into any Walmart in any black neighborhood and you will see hundreds of women who look like this statue here. So it's like, just admit that you don't like yourselves and move on. Just admit that you hate seeing shrunken type 4 hair. Just admit that you don't like women who have natural bodies or women who are average size. By the way, the average size in the United States is a 16 to 18. We've talked about that on this channel. So just admit that you think your own aunties are ugly. You think your own mothers are ugly. And it's hilarious because they'll tell like black men, they'll be like, oh, well, you should date black women because your mama is black. Your auntie is black. And it's like, okay, this statue looks like your mama and your auntie. So why don't you have loyalty to your fellow unambiguous black women with this appearance and this aesthetic? Not to mention the fact that I thought that black women were the main ones complaining about how everybody's racist. Hollywood is racist. Pretty much anything that has to do with the media industry or the artist industry is racist, right? So why are you sitting here begging racist people to represent you? You had an artist who wanted to finally represent what the majority of unambiguous women look like. We all know that statistically speaking, a lot of unambiguous women are quote unquote average size, which is around 16 to 18. or overweight. A lot of unambiguous women do have natural type 4 hair that can go into locks. A lot of unambiguous women do wear long braids, because I saw that there was like another statue with long braids and like jumpers, like a jumpsuit on or something. So it's like, okay, a lot of you guys actually look like that. So if you don't like how you're being perceived, then don't be in the public eye. And this is what I talk about when I speak on cognitive dissonance. A lot of women in the unambiguous community, they have really bad cognitive dissonance because on one hand, they want the spotlight. They want to be visible. They want people to look at them. They want people to notice them. But on the other hand, they don't want the criticism that comes with being noticed. And it's like, hey, that's just a part of being a star, baby. So if you're not ready to be in the spotlight, then please step out of the spotlight. And by the way, I've never heard any unambiguous women complaining before about there not being enough flattering statues of them. I've never heard them complain about this before. No, they're only complaining about this now. Suddenly they want to pretend like they care about the statues in Times Square and the statues that are in the public eye. They want to suddenly pretend like they're experts on sculptures. They want to suddenly pretend like sculptures and looking at them is one of their hobbies, which it's not. So this is fake outrage once again. So they can't decide what type of image they want to have for themselves. A lot of them hide behind mixed women. A lot of them hide behind braids. They hide behind lace fronts. And I'm talking about the ones with the inferiority complexes. They will hide behind all these other images. They hide behind dark-skinned exoticals, dark-skinned mixed-race women. They prefer dark-skinned black women who have keen features and, silky curly hair. That's their preference. Even though they'll never admit it, that's their preference. Because every time they put on the lace fronts, every time they contour their noses into oblivion, that's the aesthetic they're trying to achieve. So they're upset because this woman, she does not fit their internalized beauty standard. These unambiguous statues that they're putting up that are supposed to represent what the everyday black woman looks like, black women themselves are basically admitting we don't like our collective image. And we already know this. If you don't believe me, please go check out channels like Chrissy's, where they have hundreds of videos complaining about how much they hate their own image. They hate their own collective image. And I see a lot of people saying things like, oh, why don't they put dark-skinned black women on the forefront who are in shape, women who are skinny? And it's like, okay, first of all, the majority of unambiguous women are not skinny. Being a size 4, being a size 6, that's actually rare, not just for black women, but for any race of woman in the United States. Okay, so not to mention the fact that a lot of unambiguous women come onto my channel all the time and they say that skinny women look like children. They say that we have EDs, and they say that they love being thick and that, they want to have meat on their bones and that grown women should have grown woman meat on their bones. Okay, so this is your Nubian queen right here. This is your black goddess right here. So I don't see what the problem is. Which one is it? Do you like skinny bodies or not? Do you like locks or not? And by the way, the artist, Thomas J. Price, he's the one who created the sculpture. He identifies as black. So he's a black man, according to his own website. Okay, so you guys talk so much about how you want to be validated by black men. You want black men to give you visibility and you wanted their support. And then when you have someone of black descent who decides to curate your image, you're still mad. So do you see why a lot of people give unambiguous women the collective image of being complainers and being Debbie Downers about everything? Because you literally can do no right. If they would have put a sexy statue, let's say they would have put like some sort of African woman with like her belly out and she's very thin and very curvy or something like that. Let's say if they would have put somebody like that in Times Square, they would have complained about being fetishized. They would have said that they were being over-sexualized. They would have said that, they want to be shown in a way that's more classy. But have you ever noticed that when you ask unambiguous black women to define what it means to be classy, they have no actual definition for the word? That's my question for Black YouTube. What do you consider to be quote-unquote looking classy? What hairstyles are the most classy? What body weight is the most classy? What facial features are the most classy? I would love to know your answer to that. Because they love to move the goalpost when it comes to their beauty standard. They move the goalpost when it comes to how they want to be represented. And so this is why a lot of artists and Hollywood and, even black artists, they will just keep their hands off and they'll be like, okay, you know what? You guys can represent yourselves. And I actually agree with that. a lot of unambiguous women's biggest problem is the fact that they have this external locus of control. So they're begging for white Hollywood to represent them properly. They beg black Hollywood to represent them properly, and black Hollywood is more so run by black men versus women, because we all know that the majority of directors and producers and stuff are men. The majority of the executives in Hollywood are men, black, white, or whatever race they are. So it's a male-centered identity that a lot of them have. They beg men of different races to validate them, but then they're never satisfied with the actual validation they do receive. And so they don't feel validated by this statue because they think that this body type, this hair texture, these facial features are ugly. They don't think it's a good representation of them. And my question to them is, okay, so what do you think about your mama then? What do you think about your aunties? What do you think about your sisters? What do you think about yourself when you come home and look in the mirror? And honestly, I think that the hairstyle, I think that they're actually being generous with this hairstyle because a lot of unambiguous black women would not be caught dead in locks, nor would they have the patience to grow out their locks this long. It actually takes a while to grow 4C hair. Let's say you have 4C hair and you lock it up. It actually takes a while for it to get even to shoulder length because it's growing out in kind of a shrunken state naturally. So they're actually being generous. What if they would have put some sort of lace front on her? Then what? You guys would have cried texturism. You would have said, oh, you don't like natural hair. You know, you're being a texturist because you didn't show type 4 hair. So you've got a person he's not being discriminatory based on hair texture, facial features, or body types, but yet that's still not good enough. Do you see the mental gymnastics? Do you see how no image of the unambiguous black woman is good enough representation for them? And if they do want someone to represent them, usually it's an unambiguous dark-skinned black woman who is not in her natural state. And I see that they will say things like, oh, well, white women, they have all these glamorized images. They don't show white women in their natural state. Yes, they do, all the time. They have white women everywhere, both on TV and off social media, who are size 12 or size 16 with their natural hair. Their natural hair just happens to be straight. Just admit that you think that all the other phenotypes are naturally prettier than unambiguous women. That's what it is. And for the people saying, oh, well, mixed women, they don't show themselves in their natural state. Yes, they do. Remember Alicia Keys? She showed herself with no makeup. All of her freckles were out. Natural hair was out. I love that. I thought that was great representation. Alicia Keys got a lot of support from the MLS community. And she's still relevant to this day. She's still viewed as a beauty icon to this day while showing herself in her natural state. There are plenty of mixed race or lighter skinned women who have shown themselves in their natural state. Rihanna is another woman I can think of. So it's like, yes, of course they're going to get dragged. Anybody's going to get dragged if they're in the public eye. Black, white, light skin, dark skin, doesn't matter. There's always going to be someone criticizing you. There were people criticizing Alicia Keys for showing herself without makeup. I remember even on Chrissy's channel, she talked about how Alicia Keys looked quote unquote average with no makeup. So basically saying she didn't look as pretty. So it's like, no matter what phenotype you are, you're going to have critics. So just admit that you can't take the smoke. And it's like, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. If you can't handle the criticism that comes with being in the public eye, then go back into the abyss where you came from. Because every woman, every statue, every piece of art, every film gets criticized, no matter how glamorized or unglamorized it is. But like I said, I think that a lot of unambiguous women, they have PTSD. In fact, now they have a new term. They're calling it black fatigue. Imagine hating your blackness so much to the point where you get tired of that shit. You're like, you know what? I'm tired of being black. I'm tired of this skin tone. I'm tired of this hair texture. I'm tired of these facial features. They call it black fatigue. And you got black people saying this about themselves. So a lot of them do not like their own blackness and they don't like their own black features. And a lot of them hate to see natural black features on other women. They hate to see broader features on darker skinned women, coupled with the natural hair. I told you that they will never show or pedestalize a woman who has these three features at the same time: shrunken 4C hair, broad facial features, and dark skin. The majority of unambiguous black women will never pedestalize a woman that has those three features. They will not pedestalize a woman like that more than they would a woman of a different phenotype. I also saw some people talking about how when it comes to unambiguous black models, they will try to cut off her hair or make her have short hair. And it's like, okay, you do know that there's a such thing as looking good with short hair, right? Dark-skinned black women can still look just as pretty as light-skinned women with short hair. So that's why some black women choose to have short hair. Lupita Nyong'o, she looks pretty with short hair. Not to mention the fact that 4C hair naturally shrinks up and looks shorter than what it is anyway. Short hair is not a handicap. If your face card doesn't decline, if your face card eats, if your face card looks good, then you're going to look good whether your hair is short or long, and that includes unambiguous dark-skinned black women. Because I saw some people kind of criticizing the hairstyle of the statue, or just criticizing how they show unambiguous women with their natural hair. So the same thing happened with like Francesca Rivers. They were criticizing her hair when it was in a messy bun, and it's like, if you go on to colorism channels, they complain about how they can't be seen in public with a messy bun. And so there you had Francesca Rivers from Romeo and Juliet being pictured in a messy bun, and then they complained. It's very similar to that one child in that H&M ad. She had like a messy ponytail and her hair was 4C, and you had unambiguous dark-skinned black women complaining that it was bad representation. And it's like, which one is it? Do you want to be seen with a messy bun or not? Do you want to be seen with no makeup or not? Do you want to be seen at a size 12 or not? My question for Black YouTube is, what is your unambiguous Black beauty standard for natural beauty? What's your beauty standard? Is it not type 4 hair that could grow into locks? Is it not size 16 or size 18? Is it not a woman with a natural body who hasn't had BBLs? What is your standard for unambiguous natural Black beauty? I would love to get the answer to that. Oh, and when it comes to facial features, what is your beauty standard for dark-skinned black women in terms of facial features? I hear black women talking so much about their collective image, but if you ask them what they want their collective image to be, they can't even answer. So they're disorganized as fuck. They don't know what collective image they want. They pretend like they're strategizing, and it's like, okay, so then what's the image that you want to portray? Please let us know. Please let these artists know. Please let Hollywood know. Since you have such an external locus of control, if you're so desperate for these black male sculptors or these white male Hollywood executives to represent you, at least tell them what blueprint you want them to represent. Since there's so much talk about being a blueprint, okay, is this not the blueprint right here? Is this not how a lot of unambiguous women look in everyday life? And I saw an image of a woman. She posted a white statue next to this unambiguous black woman statue. And they do this all the time because, like I said, white women are their standard of beauty. White women and non-black women are their standard for how they want to be perceived. So that's why they're constantly comparing themselves to random white people, random non-black women. But I saw that they put this image up where there's a white girl with her hair flowing in the wind, and then there's the unambiguous black woman. Okay, so my question is, what about this white woman is prettier than the black woman next to her? I would love to know. What exactly does this white woman have in terms of desirability or whatever that this unambiguous black woman doesn't have? That's my question to all the Afrocentric YouTubers who claim to be so pro-black. They claim that black beauty is so powerful and, they love being a beautiful black woman. Okay. And by the way, let's talk about this thing that they're doing where they're trying to compare this woman to like Greek goddess statues and like Aphrodite statues. Okay, so again, they're exposing the fact that they want to be viewed as goddesses. They want to be sexualized because Aphrodite is sexualized. This statue on the left, this white woman statue, is more of a sexualized statue. She's got her breasts popping out and her nipples popping out. She's got her hair blowing in the wind, kind of like in a sensual way. But if you would have had a statue of an unambiguous woman like that, you guys would complain that she's being fetishized or that she's just being sexualized. Or, they say this all the time, that dark-skinned black women are only known for their bodies and that people don't view them as humans. So which one is it? Do you want to be a sex symbol or not? Because sex symbols are sexualized. Sex symbols are fetishized. So this statue on the left is actually a white woman who is being fetishized as far as the image goes. This image is definitely a sexualized image with her nipples popping out and, the stars on her nipples, or she has a wet t-shirt on, basically. She looks like she's soaking wet. So that's definitely a sexualized statue. So what dark-skinned black women are saying is, hey, we don't like this statue because it's not sexy enough. We want to be sexualized like this statue on the left. We want to be sexualized and shown nude like these Greek god statues. A lot of the Greek goddess statues, or like these mythical statues that they show, those are sexualized images. Those are sensual images. So they want to be sexualized. They want to be perceived as sex symbols. But then they'll turn around and say, oh, you're sexualizing me. So which one is it? And some people are saying that the guy who did it is not unambiguously black, that he's biracial. Well, I'm not sure about that because I couldn't find it. Like, I couldn't find the information. You guys know that I usually look up people's parents and grandparents. So it's like, okay, whether he's monoracially black, the artist, the person who did the sculpture, whether he's monoracially black or not, shouldn't matter, because why are you looking to men to properly represent unambiguous black women? So do you see how a lot of black women, they want everybody else to step up for them? They want everybody else to show up for them. They want men to show up for them. They want light-skinned women to show up for them. They want white people in Hollywood to show up for them, but they don't show up for themselves. Where are the unambiguous black female sculptors who are making statues in Times Square? Why aren't you supporting them? You know damn well that most of the unambiguous women complaining, they can't name not one unambiguous black female art sculptor. The majority of them don't even keep up with unambiguous black female artists in the sculpting industry. So this is completely fake outrage. I also want to talk about how unambiguous women are very easily rage baited. And when it comes to being an artist, like if you're a filmmaker, if you are a creative artist of any kind, rage bait will get you paid. And I can tell you this from experience myself. Rage bait will get you paid. All you have to do is make unambiguous women mad. Boom, you're going to become more famous. You're going to get paid. I've never heard of this sculptor until today. I was today years old when I've heard of Thomas J. Price. And that is because he has successfully, whether he intended to or not, he successfully rage baited unambiguous women. And they have now popularized him to the point where people are looking at more of his works of art. And I see people saying like, oh, this statue is sabotaging black women. This statue looks like Whoopi Goldberg. Okay, that's the closest celebrity I can think of that looks kind of like this statue. So what about her appearance is self-sabotaging? Just admit that you think she's ugly. And then I see people saying, oh, well, she doesn't look remarkable enough. Okay, so what looks unremarkable about this woman? Also, I hear a lot of black women saying, oh, there's nothing wrong with being average. There's nothing wrong with being a regular black woman. Okay, so then where's that energy here? And then I see some people saying like that all the other statues, they look more strong and kind of like confident. Okay, so tell me what pose should this statue have been doing? Why don't you go design a statue? To all the unambiguous women complaining, where are your statue designs? Where are your sketches at? You know, since you're such an expert on artistry, since you're such an expert on cultures, why didn't you create a sculpture to represent your fellow unambiguous women? Why are you relying on random biracial men, random black men like Ryan Coogler, random executives in Hollywood? Why are you waiting on them to be your representation? Do you see what I mean when I talk about this culture of them trying to ride other people's coattails? And then people say that the whole point of a statue is to show them in their best state. Okay, so what would have been the best state for this black woman? Her looking sexy? Her being skinnier and maybe having her hair straightened out? And a lot of people who try to ally themselves to unambiguous black women, because I'm assuming that the artist, I'm assuming that he was not intending to be racist or colorist. I'm assuming that he was probably trying to get people talking. He was probably trying to do something controversial and like show more diverse representation of black women, because they talk all the time about how their only representation is that of a Jezebel. But then now they're saying, oh, she's basically not sexy enough. She's not pretty enough. And another thing I hear them saying is like, people are using black women to be the face of protests. You know, they're subjugating them to be attacked. And it's like, okay, anytime you put yourself in the public eye, you're going to be attacked. Anytime you are put on a pedestal, this statue, this is literally a pedestal. It's a statue. It's a pedestal of an unambiguous black woman. But it's like, first of all, you're going to be critiqued no matter what. Unambiguous women are not exempt from criticism. If anything, they're going to receive more criticism because a lot of them have come against their own allies. Anytime people have tried to align themselves with unambiguous women, they end up getting bit in the ass. They end up You know, a lot of them will bite the hand that feeds them. They will beg for representation. And then when they get that representation, they complain. No matter what black woman is representing them, they will complain. And then they'll say things like, oh, well, people are using black women to be the face of protesting. Well, what are you guys doing right now? You're protesting this statue. You guys protested against the representation in Sinners. You guys protested against the representation of Cynthia Erivo in Wicked. You protest against unambiguous women being put in music videos shaking their behinds. You protest against black women being in the rap industry, and then you guys say that it perpetuates the ghetto ratchet stereotypes. So you guys are protesting more than you're supporting other unambiguous women. So if you feel like you're the face of protesting, it's because as a collective, you're doing the most protesting, as this situation proves. And for the women saying that, oh, this statue is making us get bullied even more. Okay, so who's coming into your DMs randomly? Let's say you're just a random black woman on Facebook or something. Who's coming into your DMs randomly saying, excuse me, TT, I saw this statue of a woman in Times Square, so now I want to bully you because I saw this statue? No. Most of them aren't going through that. That's projection. They think that this statue is going to cause them to be bullied. So do you see how that lines up with my talking point? A lot of unambiguous women are terrified of isms. They're scared of white people. They're scared of racists. They're scared of colorism, texturism, and featureism. And so that's why they don't like anything that they feel could, cause somebody to be racist. I'm not going to live my life in fear of some racist idiots. I don't base my lifestyle around avoiding colorist, texturist, and featurist people. No. And I also see some people saying, why do black women have to be portrayed as marginalized? Well, because that's how you guys identify. You guys identify as being the most marginalized, the most disrespected. By the way, that talking point is a Malcolm X quote, which I disagree with. I strongly disagree with Malcolm X's quote, where he said that, black women are basically at the bottom. They're the least respected. They're the least protected. So I strongly disagree with that. That is a disempowering statement. But a lot of unambiguous black women, because they pedestalize men and they're male-centered, they are still taking on these outdated mindsets. They're still taking on this narrative of being at the bottom. And so they identify with being marginalized. They literally are saying that this statue is further marginalizing them. And then another thing people are saying is that this statue is making black women look masculine. Okay, so what looks masculine about her? Eyes, nose, lips, skin tone, hair texture? What exactly do you perceive as being masculine? And then I also see people saying, this is making black women be viewed as unattractive. Okay, once again, being viewed as attractive, that is not a civil rights issue. That's not a social justice issue. That is a social status issue. So that goes back to kind of this femcel mindset, this deep-seated rejection that a lot of them have experienced. A lot of them feel like their beauty has been rejected, and so they will try to hide behind isms and act like beauty is a civil right. Like, you're racist if you don't find me beautiful. Why didn't you create a statue that other people would find more beautiful? Why didn't you create a statue that was sexy, kind of like this white girl where she's in a wet t-shirt with her boobs hanging out? That's what you should have created for black women. Her in a wet t-shirt with her boobs hanging out and her nipples showing. And it's like, okay, just admit that you want to be the pretty girl. That's what this is. Deep down inside, they want to be pretty girls. And I'm not saying that you can't, but if that's what you want, just say that that's what you want. Stop trying to pretend like it's an ism. Like, oh, you're racist if you don't think I'm pretty. This statue is racist because it's not pretty enough. Not pretty according to who? Because I see plenty of women who look just like this statue here who are living normal lives. They're married or they're, posting on Instagram just like everybody else. They post cute pictures. They have their hair done and their locks. I see a lot of women who are beauty icons who have locks. I've seen women who look good with locks. So what about this woman looks so ugly? And then I see some other people saying it's not the statue itself as much as it's what she's wearing. There were so many inspiring possibilities you could have done with it, like give her a cap and gown. People are saying you could have put the woman in a suit. You could have put her in a cap and gown. Okay, so what outfit is the best representation for black women? So this is very similar to YouTuber Chrissy's talking point where she said that Lashana Lynch looks masculine because she's wearing pants. So apparently unambiguous black women, they're not allowed to be celebrated at a size 12. They're not allowed to be celebrated while wearing locks. They're not allowed to wear pants. They can't wear a pants and a t-shirt because it looks ugly. They have to wear a suit that's been designed and tailored by a person of another race. And then I also see women like kind of projecting onto the statue. They're saying, oh, the facial expression on the statue, she looks exhausted. Okay, what exact facial feature looks exhausted on this statue? Eyes, nose, lips? Tell me exactly why you think she looks exhausted. What about her actual face looks exhausted? No, you just associate being a black woman in general with being exhausted. So your internalized anti-blackness is coming out. And then for the people who are saying like, oh, well, they should have put her in a more fashionable outfit. Okay, so all you're doing is you're proving the fact that dark-skinned black women have to work harder. So isn't that what you guys are fighting against? But now here you are saying like, oh, this woman, she should have tried harder, basically. You should have tried harder with this statue. You should have put her in a better outfit. You should have given her a better hairstyle. You should have made her makeup look perfect and made it look slayed. And a lot of them have this insecurity that if they're not super glammed up 24/7, that they're not enough. So that's why they're projecting it onto this woman, because they feel like, she's not enough as she is. She's not enough in her natural state. She's not enough with a little bit of chunk on her. She's not enough with a little bit of extra weight on her. She's not enough with a serious facial expression. She looks exhausted, apparently. And I even saw some people saying that this is an angry, fat black woman. And once again, the internalized anti-blackness is jumping out because it's like, if you zoom in on her facial expression, she does not look angry at all. Her eyebrows are not furrowed. She's not frowning at all. So they're allowing their insecurities to cause them to project their own hatred on the statue. This says more about the mental state of unambiguous women than it does about the statue. And going back to them comparing the statues to like Greek gods and stuff like that, if you look at the statues, I will put up an image. If you look at the statue on the left, this statue is representing strength. It's a shirtless, actually it's a nude man with a cloth over his crotch area. And he's got a six-pack and everything. So unambiguous women are essentially saying, we want to be portrayed like that. But I thought you guys don't like the strong black woman trope. If they would have put an unambiguous black woman who's in shape with a cloth over her crotch, with her slinging a bag over her like she's traveling somewhere, you guys would have said that that's perpetuating the strong black woman trope. And you also would have said that that's sexualizing her because, in this statue on the left, it's just him with a cloth over his crotch area and his top is completely, he has no top on. You know damn well that you wouldn't like it if they showed a topless black woman, or if they showed a black woman with just a bra or with her nipples out or something like that. You wouldn't like that. And again, why are you comparing yourself to white people? Do you see how their standard of beauty, their standard of living, their standard of statues, and their standard of sculptures is anything except an unambiguous dark-skinned monoracial black woman? And for those saying that they don't have any fat statues, that's completely false, especially when it comes to European culture. They have plenty of paintings of overweight people in the European community. They have statues of overweight people. So all you're doing is admitting the fact that you're not actually cultured. You don't actually pay attention to art. If you look at Buddha, like the Asian statues and stuff, Buddha is fat. So making this about people's body type is actually laughable. Or saying that, this is the first statue that they've ever shown that is overweight. That shows me that you don't actually study art. You don't actually keep up with art. You've probably never been to a museum in your life. You haven't been to a museum in decades. Because they have plenty of full-figured statues all over the world. And I also saw some people talking about the artist, Thomas J. Price, and they are saying things like, well, if the artist is married to a white woman and if his mother's a white woman, he can only depict white women. Okay, so that proves that you have a male-centered identity because you feel like in order for him to even make a sculpture of a dark-skinned black woman, he has to be sleeping with a dark-skinned black woman and he has to be born of a dark-skinned black woman. Do you see the narcissism there? So it's like, okay, on the one hand, I want you to represent dark-skinned black women. Oh, but you can only do it if you're related to a dark-skinned black woman or if you're married to one of us. They're basically saying they want you to revolve your life around them. And for the people who are saying like, oh, black women are not a monolith. Exactly. And this statue proves that. Because a lot of the other statues I've seen of black women are more like Afrocentric or like, It looks like she's straight out of Africa with a basket or a pot on her head or something like that. So this proves that black women are not a monolith. And this is giving representation to the unambiguous dark-skinned black women who have never got it, right? The phenotype and body shape of this woman is very similar to a lot of the colorism content creators right here on YouTube. And a lot of women in the unambiguous community, they don't understand the power of ignoring people. So instead of just not giving this artist any attention, instead of treating this artist like he's irrelevant, they want to give him all this attention and they want to try to bully him into taking down the statue. I mean, who knows how much he got paid to do this statue? I mean, I don't know how it works, but I'm assuming they probably pay those sculptors to create art to go in the middle of Times Square. So they're basically saying, we want you to give up your livelihood and we want you to be able to control your creativity as an artist. And we want to tell you what you can and cannot sculpt. So do you see how there's this agenda where it's not only do they want to be seen as the ultimate beauty standard, the ultimate sex symbol, the ultimate symbol of power, the ultimate symbol of beauty and fitness and health and whatever, but then they also want to control your creativity and how you express yourself. And they're basically saying, you can only represent our image how we want it to be represented. Oh, but we as unambiguous black women aren't going to step up and create our own sculptures. No, we're not going to do that. We're still depending on you to create our sculptures, but we want you to represent us properly. And this is why, Exoticals, I like to use this as an example of what not to do, because one of the biggest social climbing mistakes of unambiguous black women is they make people famous who they hate. That's number one. And then number two is they're constantly waiting on others to be their representation, instead of them coming to the forefront and representing themselves. So instead of them creating their own sculptures, creating their own movies, or, following other unambiguous black women in the music industry and all that, no, they'd rather just complain about what other people are doing with their image. And it's because they've given their power away. It's that external locus of control. And I also find it interesting how people keep on speculating about the artist, saying he has a white mother. But a lot of black women, they want to date the white men who have white mothers. They want to date biracial men who have white mothers. Or they want to date white men and create biracial babies. And by the way, let's talk about New York City in general. Is New York City an Afrocentric city? Because last time I checked, New York City does not center itself around unambiguous black women or their image. So my next question is, why are you expecting something in New York City to be favoring your image over everyone else's? You guys don't even dominate. The African American population is not dominant in New York City. You don't have unambiguous black women in positions of power in New York City. So why are you so worried about what's going on in New York City anyway? Why are you even giving that city so much relevance and power over your image? Why are you even paying attention to that city? Why not move to a city where, you got an unambiguous black woman as the mayor or in charge of the art that goes downtown? Since you're suddenly so concerned with how they're portraying different artwork in different cities, why aren't you supporting the black women in politics in actual black cities? Oh, what? Because it's fake outrage? And by the way, I just want to reiterate that when it comes to them saying that, like, oh, this woman looks weak, she looks weak and exhausted, you should have shown somebody with more power. Okay, in order to have power, you have to have strength. And black women don't want to have strength because they don't like the strong black woman trope. Okay, so if you don't have strength, you won't have any power. So which one is it? Do you want the power or not? Do you want to be a strong black woman or not? And by the way, if you're allowing a statue to turn you into an angry black woman, you are the stereotype that you're trying to fight against. And I hear people saying like, oh, well, this is going to put a target on black women's back. Baby girl, you're going to have a target on your back no matter who you are, no matter what color you are. If you are leveling up in life in general, you're going to have a target on your back. So if you don't want a target on your back, just stay invisible. Stay at the bottom. And for the women who are saying that, like, this is causing more people to bully them, this is causing more people to hate on them, where's the proof? Because they love falsely accusing people of isms. They love falsely accusing people of being colorist, texturist, featurist, and racist and anti-black. So it's like, okay, if you're saying that this statue itself is causing hate crimes against black women somehow, or it's causing you guys to be bullied, show me the screenshots. I want to see the screenshots of it. I want to see proof that the statue itself is causing your actual life to be worse. Because it's like, if something as simple as a random statue ruins my life, then I didn't have a life to begin with. And this is no different than the people who expect the government to save them. So a lot of unambiguous women with inferiority complexes, they're looking to Hollywood to save their image. They're looking to random sculptors to save their image. They're looking to TikTok or Instagram influencers to save their image instead of taking ownership of their own image themselves. Because a lot of them don't believe in themselves. That's why. A lot of them don't believe in themselves as artists and sculptors, and a lot of them don't support their fellow unambiguous Black women. Not only do they not support their image, because they're literally saying that this woman is ugly, so not only do they not support their own image, but they don't support their own fellow unambiguous Black creators. And I see people saying like, oh, they're putting this big obese woman in the middle of Times Square. That's very shameful. Okay, so is your mama shameful then? Is your auntie shameful? If you look like this woman, are you ashamed every day when you walk down the street? Because that sounds more like a personal problem to me. Everybody's not going to put you on a pedestal. And this is how I know that a lot of them, they're desperately seeking a social pedestal. Because again, this is never about social justice. It's always about social status. Statues literally represent status. Notice how it starts with the same few letters. Stat, statue, status. Anybody who studies linguistics knows that words that sound similar, usually their meanings are derived from one another or they have similar definitions. So they're obsessed with a statue because deep down inside they want status. That's why. This has nothing to do with social justice. This is all about social status. They want the status of, being perceived in a sexualized way, even though they lie and say that they don't like that. They lie and say that they don't like being fetishized, but then they get mad because the Black woman statue is not as sexy as the white woman statue here in this photo. And for the people saying that like, oh, this statue is going to cause more Black women to get unalived, it's going to cause more Black women to get bullied, why are you bringing the smoke to a random artist and not bringing the smoke to the actual bullies? So do you see what I mean? How a lot of them are actually, they're terrified of racist people, they're terrified of colorist people, they're too scared to stand up to those people, so instead they want to use a scapegoat. They're going to blame the entire Hollywood system because they don't have a face that they can put on that. And it's like, who are these invisible bullies? Who are these invisible people who are sabotaging you? Who are all of these people that you're talking about? Point fingers and name names. If you want to call someone a racist, colorist, texturist, or featurist, point fingers and name names. Who is the colorist? Who is the texturist? Who is the featurist? Who is the person? What is their name? The person that bullied you because of this random statue in Times Square, what is their name? Show me their picture. Show me the screenshots. And I also saw some Black women saying that this statue is distorting their image. Okay, what exactly about the statue? Eyes, nose, lips, skin tone, facial features, body type? What exactly about it is a distortion from the Black woman's image? Because I thought you guys just said that Black women are not a monolith, which would mean that there are Black women who look like this statue. Okay, so how is it a distortion of your image then? If there are millions of unambiguous women who look just like this. Go to your local Walmart right now in a Black neighborhood in your city, and I 100% guarantee you will eventually see a woman who looks like. And going back to the people who said things like, oh, why can't she be in a cap and gown? Why can't she have on a police uniform or something like that? Why can't she have some sort of marker of social status in her clothing? What they're saying is, you can't be casual, basically. She looks too casual. So it's like, okay, you don't like how Black women look in a casual state. You don't like how Black women look in sweatpants. You don't like how they look in jeans. You don't like how they look in a baggy t-shirt. I can wear a baggy t-shirt and slay. I can wear a baggy t-shirt to the beach or the gym and feel beautiful. So all they're doing is exposing the fact that they don't feel beautiful. They're exposing the fact that they don't feel like they can just be casual. And they're also, whenever they say things like, why can't she be wearing a cap and gown? Okay, so what you're saying is, I want to be validated by white society. A cap and gown, you're graduating from an institution that is most likely a PWI. So your internalized racism is coming out because you're basically saying the only way the statue would be valid in terms of clothing is if she looks like she is a part of a white-dominated institution. The education system is dominated by white people. The police system is absolutely dominated by white males. So you guys are still exposing your inferiority complex. Because basically you're saying that if she doesn't appear like she's being validated by white people, then she's not valuable. So they're exposing the fact that they view their clothing as a way to seek white validation, their hairstyle, they view that as a way to seek white validation, the way they do their makeup, the way that they present themselves. A lot of it is about white validation or about male validation. So because this statue does not have anything on it that looks like it's, validated by white people, because it's just a woman being unapologetically black, they don't like that. So this is how I know that a lot of it's fake outrage, and a lot of their pro-blackness, a lot of the talk about being a blueprint, it's fake. And a lot of people are saying that the statue is not attractive enough. Since when do you need to be sexually attracted to a statue? Why is it that the only thing that you view of making a black woman valuable is her sexual attractiveness? Do you see the internalized misogyny coming out there? Oh, well, the statue, she doesn't look as sexy as this other one, so it's not as valuable. It's a shame. This is not good representation because she's not attractive enough to the male gaze. So do you see how you can't even build a statue without thinking about someone wanting to fuck it? First of all, why would you want to have sex with the statue? Okay, why would you want to make a statue appealing enough to where you would want to have sex with that thing? Or where you would want to fantasize about that? That's weird. Why are you viewing black women as sex dolls? A black woman doesn't have to be a sex doll in order to be made into a statue. And remember how I talked about the femcel mindset and how a lot of women who have PTSD from social rejection, a lot of them become obsessed with beauty. And you would think that the pretty girls are the most obsessed with beauty. No, usually it's the women who hate the way they look that are the most obsessed with beauty. That's why they're nitpicking this woman about not being attractive enough. I mean, it's not even a woman, it's an inanimate object. They're nitpicking an inanimate object. They're bullying an inanimate object right now. That's what unambiguous black women are doing. They are cyberbullying an inanimate object for not being pretty enough, not looking confident enough, having an angry, aggressive face somehow. And by the way, I saw that the artist, Thomas J. Price, I saw that in an interview, he was saying that he specifically chose this image because it represents a sector of black women that get overlooked. So his whole entire goal was to bring visibility to women who don't normally get visibility. And those same women with the same phenotype in real life are complaining, and they're saying, we don't want to see this. We don't want this phenotype to have visibility. We don't want this look to have visibility. This is not a part of our image. And we know that that's a lie because the majority of them look like this woman. And also my question is, what exact woman, name names, point fingers and name names. What exact black woman would you have rather had a statue of? Like name a non-famous black woman. Name an exact phenotype, hairstyle, pose, body type. It's like, what? Did you want somebody who looks like Sexy Red? Did you want somebody who looks like Michelle Obama, who's a part of the White House? The government is dominated by white people. So once again, they're still looking for somebody who has some sort of connection to whiteness or some sort of connection to white validation. What do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.